Kurt Cobain, the voice of a generation. But on April 5, 1994, the world lost him. Or did we? Was his death a tragic end? Or was there something darker at play? Tonight, we unravel the chilling truth behind Kurt Cobain's death, once and for all. When Kurt was found dead in his Seattle home, the conclusion was clear: suicide, a heroin overdose, a gunshot wound, and a suicide note. But how did it all unfold? Was it really that simple? But was the note really Kurt's final goodbye? Or was it something more sinister? A closer look reveals inconsistencies that raised doubts. Was the note possibly forged? Or did it conceal the truth? Kurt's heroin addiction was no secret. Was it the driving force behind his tragic end? Or did it cloud his judgment, leading to a deadly spiral? Some believe Kurt's death was no suicide. In fact, many argue that he was murdered. Could Courtney Love, his wife, have been involved? Could the truth be more chilling than we realize? Courtney Love, a controversial figure in Kurt's life. Could her involvement in his death be more than just speculation? Friends and family have raised questions. Did their toxic relationship play a part in his tragic fate? The crime scene itself raised eyebrows. How could evidence be missing? Why were crucial clues overlooked? Could there have been a cover-up to hide the real truth? Was the investigation rushed to close the case? Could the truth have slipped through the cracks? Police declared it a suicide within hours, but was that too hasty? The clues say otherwise. Some believe there's more to the story than meets the eye. Was Kurt Cobain truly a victim of the system? Or was there a hidden agenda behind his death, carefully covered up for years? Kurt Cobain's music lives on in every generation. His legacy, his anger, his pain, and his music continues to shape the world. But as we seek answers, the question remains: what happened to Kurt Cobain? Was Kurt Cobain's death the result of a perfect storm, addiction, fame, and personal demons? Or was it something darker we still don't understand? Kurt Cobain's death will remain one of the greatest mysteries in music history. We may never know the full truth, but what we do know is this: his music continues to speak for us all. The suicide note was meant to offer closure, but it only raised more questions. Was it truly Kurt's final farewell, or were there signs that suggest it was altered or even fabricated? Courtney Love, widow, rock star, and suspect? Critics have long questioned her role in Kurt's demise. Was there a darker side to their marriage? Could she have known more than she ever let on? Forensic evidence seemed to support suicide, but key inconsistencies remained. How could Kurt have held the shotgun with such precision while being so heavily intoxicated? Was there something wrong with the official story? What really happened that day? From his mysterious disappearance from the rehab center to the discovery of his body days later, the timeline of Kurt's last moments is full of gaps and unanswered questions. Was there a deliberate attempt to cover the truth? Heroin played a major role in Kurt's life and death. But was it a contributing factor to his demise? Or did it serve as the perfect cover for a murder? Could his addiction have clouded everyone's judgment? In a case this controversial, why were there no immediate witnesses? The silence in the room was deafening. Was it intentional? Could someone have been involved who wanted to ensure that no one would speak the truth? From the very beginning, the media jumped to conclusions, portraying Kurt's death as an inevitable end to his tortured life. But did they spin the story too quickly? Were they covering something up to fit the narrative? Kurt Cobain's music continues to inspire and resonate with millions of fans around the world. But the mystery of his death remains one of the most haunting questions in rock history. What truly happened on that fateful day? And why does the truth still elude us? Kurt's diaries were a window into his soul, full of raw emotion and disturbing thoughts. But did these writings reveal more than just his pain? Was there a hidden message pointing to a darker fate that he saw coming? The autopsy findings revealed disturbing facts. Kurt's heroin level was dangerously high, but the manner in which the gun was held raised serious questions. Could the autopsy have been compromised to cover something up? Private investigator Tom Grant, hired by Courtney Love, has uncovered details that question the official narrative. According to him, things didn't add up. Could Kurt's death have been orchestrated by someone close to him? Just days before his death, Kurt Cobain made an unexpected escape from a rehab facility. Was this a cry for help, or was it part of a larger plan that no one understood? Was someone trying to keep him from finding the truth? Nirvana was more than just a band, it was a movement. Kurt Cobain's music spoke for a generation, and his death. A symbolic end? Did Kurt's tragic fate echo the dark themes in his own lyrics, a final metaphor for his internal struggle? Kurt Cobain was just 27 when he died. Was he simply another casualty of the 27 Club, or was his death a tragic, yet inevitable outcome of fame and fortune? When Kurt Cobain died, the media turned his death into a spectacle. But were they exploiting his suffering for profit? Were the real facts overshadowed by sensational headlines, leaving us with more questions than answers? New evidence is surfacing, information that has never been seen before. Could these revelations change everything we thought we knew about Kurt Cobain's death? What if the truth was hidden right under our noses? Being a global icon isn't all glitz and glamour. The pressure to stay on top, to constantly perform, can break even the strongest. Was fame a factor in Kurt's death, pushing him to the breaking point? The death of Kurt Cobain remains one of the most haunting mysteries of rock history. Was it suicide? Or was there something darker at play? The truth may never be fully revealed, but Kurt's music and legacy live on. And so does the mystery. The 911 call made after Kurt's body was found has always been under scrutiny. What was said in those chilling moments? Was there something odd in the voice of the person calling, or was this a calculated move to prevent questions? The police investigation into Kurt Cobain's death was, at best, incomplete. Key evidence was ignored, and the scene was contaminated. How could this have been allowed to happen? Were there forces at play that sought to close the case quickly? Courtney Love's legal team quickly took control of the narrative, ensuring certain details never reached the public. Were they protecting her, or were they hiding something far darker? The 90s grunge scene was a pressure cooker, filled with talent, but also turmoil. Kurt Cobain was at the center of it all. Could the external expectations from his peers and fans have been too much to bear? In the days following Kurt Cobain's death, crucial evidence mysteriously disappeared. Key photographs, documents, and even witness statements vanished from the record. Was this just a coincidence, or was someone trying to erase the truth? Kurt Cobain's mental health struggles were well documented. With depression, bipolar disorder, and his history of trauma, could this have been the true cause of his tragic end? Or was there more to the story? Heroin was both Kurt's escape and his destroyer, but could it have played a more insidious role in his death? Was his overdose truly an accident, or was it part of a larger plan? Could Kurt have left behind secret messages warning us of his impending fate? Were there deeper meanings hidden in his lyrics and notes, guiding us toward the truth? For decades, Kurt Cobain's fans have demanded the truth. Their voices have been lost in the noise of conspiracy theories, but they know one thing. Something doesn't add up. What do they believe really happened? Kurt Cobain's death will forever remain one of the biggest mysteries in rock history. Was it a tragic suicide, or did someone end his life for reasons we may never fully understand? The truth may be more elusive than we ever imagined. What was Kurt really like in his final days? His closest friends recall unsettling conversations that hinted at a possible end, yet no one could have predicted what would happen next. On the day of his death, Kurt Cobain received a mysterious phone call. But who was on the other end? And why was this crucial piece of the puzzle never fully investigated? Kurt Cobain's fame brought him the adoration of millions, but it also brought unimaginable pressure. Was this weight too much for him to bear? Did fame push him to the brink? Some have suggested that the Seattle police were complicit in covering up details of Kurt Cobain's death. Was the investigation compromised from the start? Were powerful forces behind the scenes working to suppress the truth? Kurt Cobain's death was ruled a suicide almost immediately, but the investigation was rushed, too rushed. Could crucial evidence have been overlooked? Could a more thorough investigation have led to different answers? Courtney Love has long been suspected of being involved in Kurt Cobain's death. Could she have played a more sinister role than we've been led to believe? Was Kurt's tragic fate linked to those closest to him? Kurt Cobain's brief escape from rehab raised questions. Did he really want help? Or was there something more to this act? Was this his attempt to break free from a situation that felt like a trap? Kurt Cobain's family life was far from ordinary. His relationship with his parents was filled with strain, and some believe that the emotional scars from his childhood played a significant role in his eventual death. What secrets lie beneath the surface? We knew Kurt Cobain as a rock legend, but who was he really behind the public persona? Was he a tortured soul lost in fame, or was there more to him than we ever realized? The man behind the music is just as mysterious as his death. Kurt Cobain may be gone, but his influence lives on. His music continues to shape the world of rock and roll, and his death remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries. The question remains, what really happened to Kurt Cobain? The note left behind by Kurt Cobain seemed to explain his tragic end, but questions linger. Was the handwriting truly his? Forensic experts have raised doubts. Could this suicide note have been forged to cover up something darker? Could Kurt Cobain's untimely death have been part of a larger plan by Hollywood elites? His refusal to conform to the music industry's expectations made him a target for those who control the narrative. Was Kurt's death truly a result of his rebellious stance? After Kurt's death, the media machine went into overdrive, turning his passing into profit. Was this media frenzy merely an exploitation of his legacy, or was it a carefully orchestrated move to bury uncomfortable truths? Kurt Cobain's final interview was recorded in the days leading up to his death, yet it's never been fully released to the public. What did Kurt say that the world was never meant to hear? Seattle's underground music scene was filled with stories that never saw the light of day. What was really going on in the shadows of the grunge movement? Could Kurt Cobain's death have ties to something much darker beneath the surface? Kurt Cobain's phone records show several missed calls in the final hours before his death. Who was trying to reach him? Were these calls from people he trusted, or were they from figures connected to his untimely demise? Nirvana's final tour was filled with strange occurrences. Kurt's erratic behavior, his declining health, and the tensions within the band. Could something on the road have pushed him to a breaking point? In the days leading to his death, Kurt's behavior seemed more erratic than usual. Was he simply struggling with fame, or was there something more troubling at play? The strange way he acted during those final days only adds to the mystery surrounding his death. The Seattle Police Department's handling of evidence in Kurt's case has been widely criticized. Key pieces of evidence were mishandled, and some disappeared altogether. Could this have been the result of incompetence, or something more deliberate? Kurt Cobain's death has captivated the world for over 2 decades. Was it a tragic end to a troubled life, or was it the result of something much darker? The truth may never be fully uncovered, but the mystery will always live on. Some say Kurt left behind a series of secret recordings, but the tapes were either lost or erased. What was contained on those tapes? Could they have revealed more than we were ever meant to know? Why did Kurt Cobain die when he did? Was it a coincidence that just as he was planning to step out of the public eye, his life ended? The timing raises questions. Was it truly his choice, or was something else at play? The autopsy report on Kurt Cobain's death has always been controversial. Was it truly as thorough as it should have been? Experts are still questioning whether crucial details were missed that could have led to a different conclusion. Kurt Cobain wasn't just a musician. He became a symbol of rebellion and defiance. Was his death an attempt to end that rebellion? The question remains, was he targeted because of what he represented? Kurt Cobain's final concert was filled with odd moments. Was he simply exhausted, or was something deeper going on? Fans report strange behavior from Kurt during that show, behavior that raises even more questions in light of his tragic death. Could there have been a secret pact between Kurt and Courtney? Some believe they may have agreed on a tragic end together, and the truth behind their relationship is far darker than we know. Kurt Cobain's death left an entire generation wondering, what could he have accomplished had he lived longer? His creativity and voice were unmatched. What impact could he have had on the world of music and culture? Kurt Cobain's death was not just a tragedy for his family, it was a gut-wrenching loss for millions of fans. His death shattered the grunge generation. The question lingers, how did his fans really cope with the disappearance of their idol? Kurt Cobain's inner demons were well documented, but was he merely a victim of his own mind? Or was there something else, something far darker, that led him to his tragic end? The toxicology report found traces of heroin in Kurt Cobain's system. But what does this really mean? Was he heavily under the influence, or was there a possibility of something else? The results lead to even more questions than answers. The people closest to Kurt Cobain during his last days, what did they really know? Friends, family, bandmates? Did they turn a blind eye, or did they know more than they let on? Kurt's music was often filled with cryptic lyrics that seemed to foretell his fate. Was he trying to warn us all along? Could his songs have been the ultimate cry for help? The police report is riddled with inconsistencies, details that don't add up. What did they leave out? Why wasn't a thorough investigation conducted? Were critical pieces of evidence ignored or suppressed? Kurt's struggle with addiction is well known, but did his drug use play a more significant role in his death than we realize? Could his addiction have clouded his judgment, leading to tragic consequences? Courtney Love, was she truly the grieving widow, or was there a hidden agenda? Could her involvement in Kurt's life have led to darker outcomes? The theories surrounding her potential role in Kurt's death are more disturbing than we ever imagined. What if Kurt Cobain's death was more than a suicide? Could powerful forces have intentionally obscured the truth? The cover-up is far more intricate than we know. Kurt Cobain wasn't just a rock star. He was a cultural phenomenon. But with such immense popularity came powerful enemies. Was Kurt's death part of a plan to take down a figure too big to be left unchecked? When Kurt Cobain died, it wasn't just the end of a life, it was the end of an entire movement. Did his death signal the death of grunge itself? The world of music was never the same after that fateful day. Even in death, Kurt Cobain's influence is felt across generations. For his fans, he was more than a musician. He was a symbol of angst, rebellion, and raw honesty. His death changed the course of music history, but his legacy lives on. Kurt Cobain's death remains one of the greatest mysteries in rock history. After all the theories, the speculation, and the unanswered questions, will we ever truly know what happened? The truth may be lost forever, but the mystery will never die. Could the unreleased footage from Kurt's final days reveal the answers we've been searching for? Hidden away from the public, these clips may hold the key to understanding his state of mind and the truth behind his tragic end. Kurt's final letter seemed like a typical suicide note at first, but some believe there are hidden messages within it. Was it a cry for help, or was it a cryptic warning for something far darker? The crime scene where Kurt Cobain was found lacked the proper surveillance and documentation. Why was there no clear footage or photos to support the investigation? Could this be a deliberate attempt to obscure the truth? Some believe Kurt Cobain was surrounded by people who may have been protecting him or hiding something. Was his death a part of a larger scheme involving those closest to him? Did the music industry play a role in Kurt's death? As one of the most popular and influential musicians of his time, was he too much of a liability? Some suggest that the powers behind the music industry may have played a much darker role. Kurt's diaries were filled with personal struggles and dark thoughts, but some entries hint at even more. Were they clues to a hidden reality, revealing his inner torment and the growing danger around him? Kurt's family has always been relatively quiet about his death, but did they know more than they've ever let on? Were there family secrets that have been kept hidden from the public, adding more layers to the mystery? What do those closest to Kurt Cobain really know? Behind closed doors, some have spoken of strange, confounding events that occurred in the days leading up to his death. What truths are still hidden away? Even years later, the obsession with Kurt Cobain's death refuses to die. New rumors, new theories, and new questions continue to emerge, and the world's fascination with the truth seems never-ending. After all the theories, the investigations, and the unanswered questions, we are left with one final question. Will we ever truly know what happened to Kurt Cobain? Or will this haunting mystery remain unresolved forever? What do you believe happened to Kurt Cobain? Was his death truly a suicide, or is there more to the story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Let's keep this mystery alive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more investigations into the world's most puzzling conspiracies and unsolved mysteries. We'll see you in the next video.